Hello. I wanted to do a video talking about when I started painting. And the reason is that's one of the most frequently asked questions for people that come to art shows, for me anyway. And that was, so when did you start painting? Back in the early 2000s, I was raising my daughter, and I had my teenage son at home, and my daughter she loved to read, so she would read, and I had a little bit of spare time to try new things. So I went through a gifts assessment at my church, and they told me I had the gift of craftsmanship, and I was invitational. I was also going to a Bible study called The Power of the Praying Wife. And during that Bible study, every week they said, so who has prayer requests? And I would always say, please pray. God would show me what I'm supposed to be doing in my life. Because I felt like there was something, you hear there's something. God creates each one of us to do something in particular, and I kept praying, please show me what that is, because I didn't know. There was a lady in that group, and she was an artist, and she would bring her paintings and share them with everybody, and I thought, that's nice, but it didn't faze me until one time I was at group and I saw her sharing one of the paintings, and I said, how do you do that? Like, how difficult is it to do that? And she said, well, you should come over sometime and I'll show you. And I said, okay. So I came over a few times to her home studio. She painted at one side of the studio and I painted at the other. And she was painting, I think it was koi fish at the time. And I was trying to paint Badlands, South Dakota, but I gave up on that one and tossed it. And she said, here, I want you to paint out of this book. Just try to do like what he did in this painting. And it was a landscape painting, and I thought, okay, I'll give it a shot. So I did, and I thought I was done. And I said, I think I'm done. I think I'm good. And she said, no, I think it needs a barn. And I remember saying, I don't do barns. But I didn't know I don't do barns. I didn't know what I did or didn't do as far as painting goes, but I said, I don't do barns. And she said, try. And so I did. And I ended up putting in a barn into that painting, and then remembering my grandmother had prints of barns in her home, and I thought, I'll send this to Grandma, she'll love it. And so I told my grandpa I was going to send it to Grandma, and he said, honey, Grandma's in hospice, and this, it happened all of a sudden. She only has a couple weeks left to live. So we quickly prepared to go there. I sent the image, a digital image of it, to my uncle, who printed it out, and it hung over her bed the last 2 weeks when she was in hospice. We went to California for her memorial and got there a couple days before. My uncle, my aunt, and my grandpa, they were all trying to figure out Grandma's eulogy. And they said, do you want to, is there anything you want to add to it? And I thought, what can I contribute to that? I don't know what I can contribute, except that she was a sweet lady that had 4 kids that, she raised and everything. And my aunt pipes in, she says, be sure and put on there, Grandma always wanted to paint. And I remember thinking, I never even knew Grandma wanted to paint. It sunk in. And I went home from her service, and I was out sitting on the front curb watching fireworks being set off with my family. I remember looking up in the sky and saying, okay, God, I'll be an artist. And I kept painting, and soon enough, I finished another painting, and my uncle, the one that had, printed out the image for my grandmother, he bought that painting. And he said, I'll pay you whatever you want for it. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to keep painting. I'm just going to keep painting. I told God I would be an artist. I'm going to do it. And so I have been, and I have sold them. I am thankful I've sold them. I remember at the time my mother-in-law said, "I'm just surprised you're selling them." And I thought it was a compliment. I took it as a compliment. I was just as happy and surprised as well. So I have enjoyed being an artist. I have so much joy when I paint. I have so much joy when I teach painting. And I have so much joy when I sell a painting. Not too long after acrylic, I asked Terry, I said, "Hey, do you want to do oil? Do you want to try doing oil painting?" She said no. She was committed to being an acrylic artist. So I started watching Channel 10 at the time, and I learned from a couple artists on Channel 10 that painted oil paint. So that's how I became an acrylic and oil artist. And I keep learning, and I keep creating, because it brings me more joy in this life than anything else I've done. So I will be an artist until I'm no longer on this earth. And I wanted to share this with you to inspire you if you've thought about painting, but you haven't taken the time to do it. It's not a waste of time. It is, if it's what you're supposed to be doing, it's pure joy. And I think that's the bottom line. Whatever God's created you to do, it's going to be joyful for you. So I just want to encourage you, if you haven't tried painting, but you've thought about it in the past, you've thought, I might want to try that sometime, I would highly recommend you do. It doesn't hurt to try different things to see, different good things, to see which one is a good fit. I'm very thankful that I learned how to paint, and I'm very thankful that I am an artist. And I will keep doing videos on YouTube about painting step by step. And I'm going to get to the point where I can do a live. I haven't done that yet, but where I can do a live and you could join me maybe on a Monday. I'm trying to think about the best time to do it. But if you have any suggestions, let me know. But yeah, I'm thinking of doing that while I'm painting, like doing a live and having you guys join me to paint something. So anyway, I wanted to share the story of how I started, because I believe it was God's plan for me to be an artist, and I stepped into that and I said yes, and I did it. I just wanted to share that with you. So a little bit different than my other videos of just painting, but thank you for watching this video. Thank you for subscribing to my channel, and thank you for liking the videos. I'm hopeful in the future this will be a second source of income for my business. We'll see. But thank you again, and God bless you. I'll see you in the next video.